Hello guys and welcome to Alternatify. Today, we are looking at an event that turned Europe upside down, and therefore the old continent lost its dominant power. Have you ever felt that pull, that nagging question about how close our world came to being something utterly, profoundly different? We live with the history we know, the maps etched into our minds. But what if the lines had been drawn by a different hand? What if the echoes of Sarajevo had faded into a different kind of silence? Today, we're not just looking at history, we're feeling it. We're stepping into a world where the impossible happened, where the old empire, the one everyone counted out, found a way to survive. Imagine a Europe not defined by the Treaty of Versailles, but by something else entirely. A world without the rise of fascism as we knew it, without the shadow of a certain terrible war. This is a journey into the heart of a lost possibility, a chance to feel the weight of alternative choices and their staggering consequences. Get ready to explore a different destiny, a destiny where the double-headed eagle still flies. This is Alternatify. To even whisper of an Austro-Hungarian victory feels almost like historical heresy to some. The common narrative paints a picture of an empire already crumbling, a relic of a bygone age. And yes, the challenges were immense. A patchwork of ethnicities, competing nationalisms, and an army often outmatched and outmaneuvered. Yet history is a river with many currents. There were moments, critical junctures, where a slight shift could have sent the waters flowing in an entirely new direction. We need to look beyond the inevitable decline and see the desperate struggle, the moments of unexpected resilience. The human element, the sheer will to survive, played a part too. What if that will, combined with a twist of fate, had been enough? The Brusilov Offensive in 1916 was a catastrophe for Austria-Hungary. It shattered divisions, broke morale, and exposed the empire's deep vulnerabilities. It felt like the beginning of the end. But what if it hadn't been so devastating? What if the initial Russian surge had met a more prepared, perhaps even lucky defense? Imagine intelligence arriving just hours earlier, allowing key reserves to shift. Picture a crucial bridge holding just long enough, or a communication line staying open against the odds. This isn't about a total Austro-Hungarian triumph on the Eastern Front. It's about mitigating the disaster, preventing the near-mortal wound that the Brusilov Offensive inflicted. It means the empire bleeds, yes, but it doesn't hemorrhage to the point of collapse. It buys time, precious, vital time. The entry of the United States into the war in 1917 was a turning point of monumental proportions. It injected fresh manpower, industrial might, and financial power into the exhausted Allied cause. Without American intervention, the war's trajectory changes dramatically. The scales, so heavily weighted by 1917, remain more balanced, perhaps even tipping back towards the Central Powers. Consider the strong isolationist sentiment in the US. Many Americans saw it as a European squabble, far from their shores. What if German submarine warfare had been just slightly more cautious? What if the Zimmermann telegram had been dismissed as a clumsy fake? A different political climate, a more effective anti-war movement, or simply a different decision from President Woodrow Wilson could have kept the US neutral. This neutrality doesn't guarantee a Central Powers victory, but it removes a colossal obstacle for them. It leaves Britain and France facing a far more difficult, perhaps unwinnable struggle on the Western Front. Emperor Karl I inherited a poisoned chalice in 1916. He saw the suffering, the futility of the war, and desperately sought a way out. He was a man burdened by the weight of history and the cries of his people. His secret peace overtures in our timeline were genuine, born of a desire to save his empire and prevent further bloodshed. They ultimately failed, exposed and rejected by the Allies. But what if the circumstances were different? What if the Allies, facing a stronger Central Powers position and no prospect of American aid, were more receptive? Imagine Karl's diplomats finding a more discreet channel, presenting terms the Allies, exhausted and facing potential defeat, couldn't simply dismiss. Perhaps concessions on territory, particularly to Italy, are offered and seriously considered. Maybe the promise of a stable, non-revolutionary Central Europe is appealing to war-weary leaders. A separate peace between Austria-Hungary and the Allies in late 1917 or early 1918 is the key. It fractures the Allied coalition and leaves Germany isolated, facing a potential two-front war against a still-fighting France and Britain, but without the pressure from the south. This isn't a total crushing victory for the Central Powers. It's a negotiated peace, born of exhaustion and strategic necessity. Austria-Hungary survives, but not unscathed. The resulting treaty is a complex web of compromises. Austria-Hungary cedes territory, likely to Italy, Trentino, Trieste, and potentially some border adjustments in the Balkans. But the core of the empire remains intact. Bohemia, Hungary, Galicia, Croatia, they are still part of the Habsburg realm, albeit with potentially greater autonomy promised. Poland might emerge, but perhaps as a smaller buffer state, possibly a kingdom tied to the Habsburgs or Germany. The dreams of a large independent Poland are curtailed. Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, if they form at all, are weaker entities, perhaps confederations or states heavily influenced by Vienna. The full flowering of South Slav and Czech nationalism is stunted. Germany, though isolated by Austria-Hungary's separate peace, avoids the punitive terms of Versailles. No war guilt clause, manageable reparations. It remains a major, albeit chastened, power. The 1920s and 30s in this timeline feel different. There's no crushing burden of war guilt and reparations fueling resentment in Germany. The ground for extremist ideologies is less fertile. The Weimar Republic, while still facing challenges, has a better chance of survival. Democracy isn't immediately associated with national humiliation. Austria-Hungary under Emperor Karl faces the monumental task of internal reform. The promise of greater autonomy for ethnic groups must be delivered, or the empire risks implosion from within. Karl, a genuinely reform-minded monarch, works towards a federal structure. A United States of Greater Austria, perhaps, granting significant self-governance to its diverse populations. This is a delicate balancing act. Nationalists within each group push for more, while centralists fear losing control. Success depends on skillful diplomacy and genuine commitment to reform. Economically, the vast interconnected Habsburg market becomes a powerful engine. Vienna thrives as a financial and cultural hub, a bridge between East and West. Trade flows more freely across Central Europe. Infrastructure projects connect the diverse regions. The empire leverages its resources and industrial base. But this is no golden age. Ethnic tensions remain, a constant undercurrent of potential unrest. Hungarian, Czech, Polish and South Slav nationalisms are not extinguished, merely contained. Italy, feeling cheated out of its full territorial ambitions, harbors resentment. A revanchist movement could easily gain traction, seeking to reclaim unredeemed lands. Russia, recovering from revolution and civil war, remains a wild card. Its relationship with a surviving, potentially stronger Central Europe is fraught with suspicion. The Balkans remain volatile. Border disputes, ethnic rivalries, and external interference could easily ignite new conflicts. The world is not free of conflict, merely free of the specific path that led to World War II as we know it. The seeds of future wars are still present, just different ones. Without the specific conditions that gave rise to Hitler and Nazism, World War II as we experienced it doesn't happen. No Holocaust, no ideological war of extermination on that scale. But conflict is still likely. Perhaps a resurgent, aggressive Italy under a charismatic leader seeks to dominate the Mediterranean and the Balkans. Or maybe a border conflict between Poland, the smaller, weaker one, and Russia escalates. Perhaps internal unrest within Austria-Hungary spills over, drawing in neighboring powers. The war of the 1940s in this timeline would be a more traditional geopolitical struggle. Nations fighting for territory, resources and influence, not racial ideology. Austria-Hungary, likely led by Karl's son, Otto von Habsburg, would be a key player. Otto, a staunch anti-communist and advocate for European unity of a Habsburg kind, would rally the empire and its allies. The alliances would be different. Who sides with whom? Would Britain and France ally with Austria-Hungary against an Italian threat? Would Germany remain neutral or join one side? It would be a brutal war, make no mistake. Industrialized warfare is still a reality, but the specific horrific nature of the Nazi regime's actions would be absent. Fast forward to today. What does this world look like? Europe is not the unified entity we know. Instead of a single European Union encompassing most of the continent, there are likely competing blocs. A Western European Union, perhaps centered on France and a more democratic Germany, and a Central European Union. The Central European Union, led by a federalized Austria-Hungary, is a major power. It includes the core Habsburg lands plus perhaps Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and parts of the Balkans. This CEU is a powerful economic zone, promoting trade and stability in the region. Vienna is its capital, a bustling metropolis of culture, finance, and diplomacy. Austria-Hungary itself is a complex federal state. The emperor is a constitutional monarch, a symbol of unity above the diverse regional governments. The various ethnic groups have significant autonomy, managing their own affairs within the federal framework. It's a delicate balance, constantly requiring negotiation and compromise. Culturally, Central Europe retains a distinct identity, a blend of German, Slavic, Hungarian, and Italian influences. Vienna's coffee houses are still centers of intellectual life. The United States, without its pivotal role in 2 world wars and the Cold War, is a different nation. Still wealthy and powerful, but perhaps more focused inward, less inclined to global intervention. Technology might have developed differently. Without the Cold War arms race, certain military technologies might be less advanced, but perhaps investment in civilian areas, like sustainable energy, is greater. The absence of the Cold War means no Iron Curtain, no decades of ideological struggle dividing the world. This could lead to a more multipolar world, with different global powers emerging. But let's not romanticize this alternative. There are significant potential downsides. The ethnic tensions within Austria-Hungary, though managed, could flare up. The federal structure might not be enough to satisfy all nationalist aspirations. The Habsburg monarchy, even constitutional, could lean towards conservatism or even autocracy. Progress and social change might be slower than in our timeline. Without the US as a global policeman, for better or worse, other powers might rise more aggressively. China, Russia, or others could fill the vacuum, leading to new rivalries and conflicts. Would human rights be as widely promoted without the post-WW2 emphasis from Western democracies? Would global cooperation on issues like climate change be easier or harder? This alternative world is not a utopia. It's a different set of challenges, a different distribution of power, a different tapestry of human experience. It forces us to confront the fragility of our own history, the sheer chance involved in the path the world took. It makes you wonder about the lives unlived, the cultures that might have flourished, the conflicts that were avoided, and the ones that weren't. Ultimately, whether this world is better or worse is subjective. It's a world shaped by different ghosts, different heroes, different villains. A world where the double-headed eagle, symbol of a complex, often troubled but enduring empire, still casts its shadow. A world where the echoes of Vienna resonate across a different kind of globe. It's a powerful reminder that history wasn't inevitable. It was a series of choices, accidents and moments where the fate of millions hung in the balance. So, Alternatifiers, what does this alternative world stir in you? Does the idea of a surviving Habsburg Empire intrigue you? Does it feel like a more stable, or perhaps a more stifling place? Would you rather live in this version of the 21st century? Let me know your thoughts, your feelings, your own speculations in the comments below. If this journey into the what-if resonated with you, please give this video a like. Subscribe to Alternatify for more deep dives into the roads not taken. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration of a different reality. What other historical turning points should we explore? Tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when we explore another possible world.